Welcome back, listeners, to the BizBlend podcast, the show where business meets bravery and stories shape strategy. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are getting real about what it takes to fight for your truth and build a life of radical freedom financially, mentally, emotionally. Now, listeners, joining us is Glenn Beechy, aka Mr. Beechy the Sword Guy. He's a man who has walked away from an Amish upbringing at 17, burned with rage and revenge, only to later carve out a new path through forgiveness, faith, and fierce discipline. Now, Glenn didn't just rebuild his mindset, listeners, he rebuilt his life. From being $1 million in debt to celebrating 25 years in construction, writing his first book, and stepping into coaching. His story, it's a proof that warriors, they aren't born, they are built. And listeners, this isn't about hustle or, spiritual bypassing. It is about how we truly live free, raw, real, and lead authentically in every area of life. So let's sharpen our swords. Let's talk freedom. Let's talk Glenn Beechy. So, Glenn, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us today.
Yes, glad to be here. Glad to be here, Sana. I'm glad that you accepted me onto the show today to discuss uh, freedom in every area of your life. It's uh, it's been a crazy journey for me to for the last 25 years or so, 20, 27, 20, about 20, 25 to 30 years now that it's been. I'm 44 years old today, and my real journey of how would you say journey of life uh, really began at 17 years old when I left home and thinking that I could leave my problems behind when I left home from my parents' house when I was 17 years old. I said I'm going to leave my problems behind and go live a life of freedom, which took me took me a really long time to figure out what true freedom really is. Um, Because when I left home at 17, I had a lot of revenge, anger, hatred, uh, that I carried with me. Unforgiveness, just it was very, very it was just very it was a very hard life that I chose to live. Um, and I found myself starting my own business when I was uh, 20 years old, and about 11 years later, I found myself around $1 million in debt, US dollars debt, um, here in the US. And I had fallen from a roof in 2001, about a year after I started my business, and had a lot of internal damage, organs that I had damaged, and I had coughed up blood for between 15 and 20 years, up until all the way up until in 2001, my accident happened all the way up until like 2000, 2018, I think it was. So it would have been about 17, 18 years that I would have coughed up blood. And I had, I discovered a couple of years ago
Mhm.
after I figured out that, mental and physical is directly connected. It's basically when you carry a lot of hatred, grudging
Mhm.
mindsets in your spirit, in your body, in your mind, it it manifests physically. It manifests in the physical. What we carry in our minds will manifest physically, if that makes sense. It's
That is right. That is absolutely right. And uh, you know, yeah, I would love to know the rest of the journey. But before that, Glenn, um, one thing I really appreciate that y- because everybody is not flawless. We often share our achievements, our the good part of us, but it definitely needs another level of courage, vulnerability, humility, and strength, mental strength, to share a journey which is kind of different in the sense because you didn't surrender to the conventional stuff around you. You took a huge risk, and on top of that, with the financial debt and all, you were suffering from health issues, accident, and you also started a business. um, it's a lot of risks. It really takes a lot of mental strength. So I really appreciate that fact. And now I would love to know the rest of the journey from you, Glenn. So please go on.
so part of the reason that I found myself so far in debt uh, is because trying to I was trying to cover up my mental state of mind, if you will, all the hatred and the revenge and the unforgiveness that I was carrying in my heart. I was trying to cover that up with uh, borrowing money to go buy things and do things in life with money to try to find fulfillment in materialistic things, if you will. And, human nature sometimes wants to go after the glamour in life, if you will, go buy all the glamorous things, all the, thinking that glamour, earthly treasures, you might say. And I'm still I love glamour. I love toys. I love fast cars. I love, you know, uh, flying helicopters. I love the things that we can do, that you have to have money to buy. You got to have money to buy all the things on planet Earth that you can have fun with, and that's what I was doing. I was borrowing, trying to borrow myself out of debt. And you can't that's virtually impossible for the way I was doing it. And I just kept borrowing money from different resources, different from banks and individuals and private loans, and not understanding that I got to pay this money back at someday. I got to pay this back. And I just kept on trying to fill that void within my spirit by just borrowing more money, trying to trying to and tell myself, well, if I can buy me a nicer truck to drive around in, if I can buy me a nicer house, if I can just, you know, borrow more money, I'll be happier. It'll bring happiness. It'll make me happier, and I don't have to deal with my unforgiveness, my hatred, my revenge that I had towards my parents, towards my brothers and sisters, towards all the people in my life that have wronged me and I wasn't taking responsibility for any of that myself at this point in my life, back when I was in my early 20s and late teenage years too. I mean, when I was 17 years old, left home and thinking that all of my life's problems and the hatred was someone else's fault. It wasn't my fault because I wasn't I wasn't willing to take responsibility for anything at that point in my life. I wasn't It was always someone else's fault that I was experiencing bad things in life. And when I figured out years later in my early 30s that unforgiveness will hold you back more than what it will the other person that might have wronged you. It will hold you back more. And there's always two sides to a story. There's always two sides to a story. Um, it's never just one person that was in the wrong. It's always two sides to a story. And when I figured that out, I went to personal growth conferences for several years. In 2011 was the first one I ever went to, and I started figuring out that if I don't forgive myself and forgive other people for past mistakes and hurts, etc., all the revenge I was carrying in my heart, if I don't start facing the truth and start releasing all those thoughts and forgive and move on, I will never, ever experience true freedom in life. And I figured out that having toys, having nice things in life, all the glamorous things you might say in life are fun, but they're not going to give you the freedom and the true um how would you say the true fulfillment in life as what it does when you release people that have wronged you in your life. You you truly forgive and move on, and that doesn't always mean that you have to go be friends again with the people that you forgave.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing I figured out is we have to decide that for ourselves if we want to be friends again with people that have wronged us, but we have to forgive and move on if we want to be free. And I learned that at a very deep level in the last few years of my life here. And it is it has been truly amazing.
I believe it has been liberating for you. Soul liberating. Wow. And this really uh, gives helps me with a question in my mind that um we our definition of freedom, it often shifts with age and experience. When we are young in our teenage, it's kind of more towards rebelling and trying to understand our own um, identity and kind of um, gravitate towards more of external validation and stuff. But then as we age, we mature, um, it feels more like an inner alignment or liberation, as what you shared. So now when you look back, I mean, how has this definition of freedom evolved after marriage, business setbacks, and mental growth? How would you define freedom now?
How would I define freedom now is I being vulnerable as we can be in everyday life, and being authentic and true to ourselves, and truly admitting to ourselves, first of all, um, our addictions, our thoughts, our struggles, our temptations. Don't I I'm pretty open now with things that I'm battling, whether it's a temptation or whether it's an addiction. Uh, I'm pretty open with that now with people around me, with my family, with my wife, with my children. I'm very open-minded with them.
Mm.
Um, with like years ago, during this time of all my hatred and all my health issues that this created for me, I had become addicted to alcohol, whiskey. I mean, I was a whiskey drinker. And this just the reason I went to whiskey and alcohol is because I was in so much pain, physical, mental pain after my accident when I fell off of a roof in 2001 and damaged a lot of my organs in my body. And I coughed up blood for years. And I was in so much pain that I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't sleep at night without alcohol a lot of times. I didn't drink every day, but I would drink alcohol 5 days out of 5 out of 7 days I was drinking at night because I was in so much physical mental pain and I wanted to bury that pain. So I would buy alcohol before I would buy groceries for my children. And my children were little at this point in time. They were very little. And I'm not, it's embarrassing to admit this, but it's the truth. It's who I was. It's not who I am now, but it's who I was. And when I admitted that I have a problem and that when I finally admitted that alcohol is not going to fix my problems long term, everything shifted for me when I figured out that I'm killing myself slowly, mentally and physically. I was suicidal. At this point, I was suicidal. Um, but it it got so bad that I had to make a decision, like, because drinking alcohol, it just it made my problems a lot worse. And I still drink alcohol to this day, but I drink it in moderation, very much in moderation. I drink it in moderation. I have frequently I have a drink now whenever I choose to. I don't I I do not drink alcohol now for emotional support or emotional uh or physical for emotional or physical benefit. I drink it on a social level because I enjoy it. I don't I don't do it for the same reason as I used to do it years ago. And it's when we live an authentic life, whether it's on social media or whether it's in real life, we don't have to we don't have to ever worry that uh, we don't ever have to cover up our tracks later because we said something yesterday that was not true. When we're authentic with ourselves and we're as vulnerable as we can be and as honest with each other as we can be, that creates trust. That creates and trust is something that's missing now in society because so many people are fake. They're fake on social media, they're fake in real life. They don't want to admit when they're struggling with something because it somehow makes them weak. And that's not true. That's what society has sold us, that if you're authentic and you're true to yourself and you're vulnerable, then you're somehow weak. And that's not true. That's just not true. I mean, it's when we're authentic with each other and we are honest, that actually builds confidence. That builds self-confidence when we're authentic with each other, and we live an authentic life with integrity. That builds self-confidence. And, the thing is, when we have self-confident men, society is a better place.
I agree. um, Obviously, and The most striking part here is through your journey. I believe it's such an honest definition of warrior mindset, because there is a willingness to change, there is an honesty to um, you know, an authenticity to share your flaws. And even if you have come from a place of addiction, but you still have that control. It's not a crutch for you anymore, but it's like you are controlling, not alcohol or anything else is controlling you. So you have that emotional and mental strength, that clarity and that confidence as well. And I think, it's a journey of reclamation, from a silent, rule bound life to a bold, self led path of freedom. There is faith and obviously authenticity. So, Glenn, before we wrap up, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, they would love to explore your journey further. They would like to share their thoughts with you. What would be the best way?
The best way to get a hold of me to reach me is on social media platforms. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I am on YouTube. I do a lot of YouTube videos. And on Instagram, I'm just under my name, Glenn Beechy, GlenBeechy, and I usually carry a sword in my hand when I do my videos. Um, and because I love swords, I just love swords. I always have loved swords, and it kind of goes with the warrior mindset type, you know, symbolic for that, obviously. And On Facebook, you can find me on two different pages on Facebook under my name, Glenn Beechy, my personal page, and then I'm also have a social media Facebook page on under Warriors Creed. Warriors Creed. It's CREED men's group. Warriors Creed men's group. You can find me on there as well and connect with me on there through Messenger, and or you can connect with me on Instagram through Messenger there. And you can also find me on my website, which is because I do coaching, um, and that's royalty-coaching.com. Royalty-coaching.com.
Wonderful, Glenn. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes for our listeners to connect with you, explore your work, your resources. And thank you so much for this honest conversation, sharing your story, the highs, the lows. So thank you so much. This was really, really inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And to all the BizBlend listeners out there, if today's conversation stirred something in you, and do message us, share the episode, or reflect on one way you can live a bit more freely this week, this day, this very moment. Until then, this is BizBlend. I'm your host, Sana, where your story, your mindset, your mission matter. Until next time, be bold, be brave, and be you. Thank you.